Have you ever met someone who falls in love incredibly fast? Not just attraction, not just a crush. Love. The kind of love where they start imagining a future after only a few conversations. The kind of love that makes them emotionally attached before they truly know the person. Most people assume these individuals are naive, desperate, too emotional. But psychology tells a very different story. Because people who fall in love easily are often searching for something much deeper than romance. And once you understand what that is, you'll never look at love the same way again. Imagine this. A man meets someone new. Nothing extraordinary happens. Just a conversation, a smile, a moment of connection. But while everyone else sees a simple interaction, his mind begins building a story about possibility, a story about belonging, a story about finally finding someone who understands him. And before reality has had time to reveal itself, emotion has already taken control. This is where many love stories begin, but it's also where many heartbreaks begin. Psychologists have discovered something fascinating. People rarely fall in love with who someone is, at least not initially. They fall in love with who they believe that person could become in their life. Think about that. When someone falls in love quickly, they aren't responding only to reality. They're responding to potential, to imagination, to hope. And hope can be incredibly powerful, sometimes more powerful than truth. Because the brain loves certainty. And when life feels uncertain, love becomes a shortcut to emotional security. This is why loneliness plays such a powerful role. Not because lonely people are weak, because connection is one of the strongest human needs that exists. The brain interprets emotional connection almost like survival. When people feel isolated for long periods, they become more sensitive to signs of belonging. A simple text feels meaningful. A compliment feels unforgettable. A small act of kindness feels profound. The emotional value becomes amplified, not because the interaction is extraordinary, but because the need underneath it is. And modern life makes this even more complicated. We live in a world where genuine connection is becoming increasingly rare. Thousands of followers, hundreds of contacts, dozens of conversations. Yet many people feel deeply alone. So when someone finally appears who seems to listen, who seems to care, who seems different, the emotional impact can feel overwhelming. Sometimes people aren't falling in love with a person. They're falling in love with relief. Relief from loneliness. Relief from uncertainty. Relief from feeling unseen. There's another reason some people fall in love easily. They see the best in others, far more than the average person. This sounds like a strength, and often it is. But it can also become a vulnerability, because highly empathetic people naturally focus on potential. They see who someone could become, who they might become, who they want them to become. And in doing so, they sometimes overlook who that person actually is. The relationship becomes built on possibility rather than reality. And reality always wins eventually. This is why early-stage love can feel almost addictive. Because neurologically, it is. When people experience romantic attraction, the brain releases powerful chemicals associated with reward, anticipation, and pleasure. Suddenly, everything feels exciting. Messages feel important. Waiting feels intense. Small interactions create emotional highs. The person begins occupying mental space far beyond what the relationship has earned. And many mistake this intensity for compatibility. But intensity and compatibility are not the same thing. One creates excitement. The other creates stability. And confusing the two can change the course of someone's life. What's even more interesting is that people who fall in love easily often aren't chasing love at all. They're chasing a feeling they've been missing. Safety, validation, acceptance, understanding. The relationship becomes the vehicle, but the emotional experience is the destination. That's why losing the relationship can feel so devastating. Because sometimes what people miss isn't the person. It's who they got to be around that person. The hopeful version of themselves. The connected version. The version that finally believed happiness was possible. And this is where self-awareness becomes important. Because falling in love easily isn't necessarily a problem. In fact, it can be a beautiful quality. The ability to trust, to hope, to connect deeply, to care openly. These are strengths, but only when they're balanced by reality. The healthiest relationships are not built on emotional speed. They're built on emotional clarity. Taking time to observe, taking time to understand, allowing reality to catch up with emotion. Because real love doesn't become stronger by moving faster. It becomes stronger by becoming more truthful. Maybe that's the lesson most people learn too late. Love feels magical, but the strongest love isn't built on fantasy. It's built on seeing someone clearly and choosing them anyway. Not because they complete you, not because they rescue you, not because they remove loneliness, but because they genuinely fit into the life you're building. And when you understand that, something changes. You stop asking, how quickly can I fall in love? And start asking, how well do I truly know this person? Because love is not just about opening your heart. It's about keeping your eyes open too. And sometimes, that makes all the difference.